How to make creams and lotions 101. Okay, do it yourself. So the tutorial that I'm gonna give you right now, you're gonna be able to make eye cream, face cream, hand cream, body cream, and whatever cream that involves both a water phase and an oil phase. Really, any good moisturizer that you want to put on yourself is going to have both oil and water. You never want to put something on that is just oil. It's going to clog up your pores. And if you put something that's just water, some people like that. I'm not a fan of that at all. Your skin needs oil, otherwise it's going to crack. So anyways, let's get started. The very first thing you want to do is spend a good amount of time, whatever that is, an hour, hour and a half, disinfecting everything. Okay, so how to disinfect. First of all, if you have the luxury, go and buy yourself a whole new set of equipment to use. Tupperware, utensils, glass, and try to stick with glass as much as you can. That can withstand heat and cold. So you don't want to cross-contaminate what you use for food for lotions, because you don't want to risk bacterial growth inside your lotions, because it will cause skin disease, and you don't want that. So try to stick with glass as much as possible. If you get metal measuring spoons and whatnot, sure, have those, but you can't use it for everything, because metal will oxidize a lot of oils and some other raw materials, so you want to give it minimal contact as you can. Plastics don't like alcohol. Disinfect everything with alcohol. Now, I do use plastic sometimes, but what I do is I spray the alcohol in there, I swoosh it in there for like 3 seconds, then I rinse it out. Otherwise, it's gonna have a chemical reaction and you don't want that. So disinfect. Next thing you need to know is distilled water. Do not use tap water. Do not use any other type of water other than distilled water. I like to get smart water. You don't have to get smart water. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is put a list of ingredients together that you want to put inside your lotion. Keep it simple at first when you're first starting, unless you know how to calculate HLB values, which is hydrophil to lipophil values, which is the water to lipid ratio and how they chemically react and how they bind, etc. So you can either take a chemistry course for that or a lotion making course for that. I can't teach that, guys. I'm sorry. You can use the recipe that I am offering right now. I've done all the calculations, and your lotion will turn out stable. Otherwise, go simple at first and then experiment from there. So the next thing you want to do is figure out how much lotion you want to make. Do you want to make 100 gram, 200 gram, 500, 1,000 grams? It's really important, because that's how you determine the measurements of how much you want of whatever else. The next thing is, how much oils do you want in there? And you have to be precise when you're making lotion. Otherwise, you're going to have a hot mess, and you don't want to do that. You're not going to have a stable lotion. It's just going to be oil and water separated. So the next thing you want to determine is, how much oil do you want to put in your lotion? I generally, for skin moisturizer, I go 27 to 30% oils. For the rest of my body, well, for hands, I'll probably do the same thing. For the rest of my body, I'll probably do 20 to 23% oils. It depends on your skin type. Next thing you want to do is figure out what kind of emulsifiers you want to use. I use all natural emulsifiers that are derived from fruit. So some of it's derived from coconut, some of it is from olives. Now, these natural ones are super great, but they are really sensitive and they're not as stable as the other ones that you can find in the market. I like everything to be natural on my skin, so I stick to these. You just have to be more cautious when making everything and just making sure that all your measurements are correct. So let's get to it. So let's get to the ingredients list that I have in this particular lotion. So the recipe, the water soluble, the water phase. I have distilled water, rose water, aloe vera juice, witch hazel distillate water, alcohol-free, honey, glycerin, castor oil, and lactic acid. All of these mentioned are water soluble. So you may have noticed that I left out the measurement for distilled water. I didn't forget. I just like to jam pack my lotions with rose water or whatever else good stuff that I can. So I leave out the water. What I put it there for is, there's this one phase that you have to heat your liquids, your water solubles, to 70 degrees. you tend to lose water weight through steam. So you have to replace that with water. So let's get to that right now. Oil soluble phase. So I use 27% for this lotion. I use sweet almond oil, grapeseed oil, avocado oil, jojoba oil, sunflower oil. It's not the same one you guys use for cooking, it's a different kind, so don't use the same thing. Wheat germ oil, sea buckthorn oil, and lecithin. So the other thing you want to make sure that you calculate in your oil phase as part of the 27% are the emulsifiers. So I like to use a brand called Olivem 1000, which is a blend of cetearyl olivate and sorbitan olivate, and it's derived from olive. I put 8.5% of that into my mix, into my oil phase. I also use a coconut base emulsifier, glycerol, stearate, and cetyl alcohol. I also put stearic acid. It just helps really bind everything together and solidify. Very important to know, when it comes to lotion making, you do not want to measure something with a measuring cup determined by the lines. You want to go by weight. Always, always by weight. Remember that. Next, after you put all your content in the water jar, you want to weigh it right before heating it up. Mark down the weight of the water jar with all the water solubles inside, because you're going to lose some weight with the steam. So you're going to have to replace that with heated up distilled water. So while you're heating up your water solubles, put some distilled water in a kettle, heat it up to approximately 70 to 75 degrees, have it waiting. So when your water solubles are ready, you weigh it again, find out how much water weight you've lost through steam, and then replace that with distilled water. That's already at 70-75 degrees, waiting for it. Make sure you have 2 thermometers and you're constantly checking in on the temperatures. Keep them at 70 to 75. The oils maybe even up to 80, just to make sure the emulsifiers melt. But don't go any higher than that. So once your oil and water are ready and at a very similar temperature, you want to add the oil to the water, and you don't want to go the other way around because some emulsifiers will not have it. So oil in water, then begin to blend immediately. You don't want to blend it on high, just because the viscosity of your cream is going to turn really either whippy or just really like liquidy, instead of like a thicker viscosity if you whip it too much. So I like to mix it on like a low to medium and keep on mixing throughout. Keep taking the temperature and keep on mixing. Constantly mix it on low. Don't go on high, otherwise it's gonna be a big mush. You wanna mix like every couple minutes, do like 1 minute of mix, and then, you know, as it's cooling down, you have to do it less. Then go like every 5 minutes, do like a minute of mixing. You don't wanna over blend or whip it. When your cream is between 25 degrees to 28 degrees, you don't want to be mixing it so much anymore. And you want to make sure you use a spatula sometimes as well, just to mix it around. 25 to 28 degrees is your cool down stage. It's where you put your preservatives, it's where you put your essential oils, and yes, you want to put preservative. Get a natural, a good one, not a natural, get one that's paraben free and formaldehyde free. You want to put a preservative with natural products. Otherwise, it is breeding grounds for bacteria. Anytime there's water involved with oil, it's breeding grounds for bacteria. So use a preservative. I know you don't want to. A lot of people don't want to. Please use it. So here's a list of ingredients that I added to my cool down stage. Go ahead and take a screenshot. So after you blend in your cool down stage, what you want to do is periodically mix on a very slow speed, or even with just a spatula. Let it sit at room temperature for 2 hours. Put a paper towel on it because there's going to be condensation and you want that paper towel to absorb it all. Do not put a lid on it because that condensation will turn to bacteria growth. So paper towel, room temperature, 2 hours. After 2 hours, put a lid on it very gently. Don't shut it tight. Let it be breathable. Put it in the fridge for 24 hours. After 24 hours, it'll be at full viscosity. Give it a stir. Then you can bottle it up in whatever bottles you want, or if it's already in the container you want to keep it in, make sure you seal it shut at this point. So that's how you make lotion. You can play around with the different percentages of oil to water ratio. You can play around with the ingredients. I have tons of recipes. I love making lotions. I love making moisturizers. I can't live without it. I'm always moisturized. Well, my face is anyways. Sometimes I forget the rest of my body, but yeah, have fun with it. And when you're first starting, don't use expensive ingredients, guys, because you're gonna mess up plenty. Practice first and start to use the more expensive ingredients. Have fun. And if you have any questions with calculations or anything, if I have time, I'm happy to help. All right?